So one of the cool things about Bumblebee, obviously, is he finds his voice and says things through going through a radio station. And I know this is a kind of a crazy question, hypothetically speaking, but if that was taking place in modern day and he were to go through a station and find Hailee Steinfeld's songs,
Oh my gosh.
what lyrics do you think he'd pull to respond with? Like, what do you think would be like the coolest lyrics to use from your songs?
Ooh, well, I guess it all depends on what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. That's a great question. I feel like something in Starving would be in there.
Yeah.
How else is he going to express that he's hungry?
This is great news.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this.
Great.
I want to see this music video with Bumblebee doing Starving.
Right?
Yeah. Now, I'm a huge fan of practical effects and CGI as well. One of the cool things, that shot of you on the ground as he's transforming for the first time, as you're looking up at the camera. Sure. What are you given from the filmmaker to know where to look? I know it's CGI, but what does that shot look like for you when you shoot it?
Well, that particular one was actually a couple different, that took place on a couple different sets. One being our actual garage where there was nothing but a piece of tape and that maybe on the matte box or something. And then there was a version where the eyes that were, lit up as they are, were there, and it was somebody had basically had it so that we could control when they came on, and that was like the initial, what I got for the initial reaction of them turning on. But that was like a very low to the ground sort of rig that they had that I would slide under, and yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff. Now, obviously, we see you wake up and your room has all these cool posters on it. Your band shirts are awesome. I was just curious, when you were growing up, what were the posters on your walls?
You know what's so funny? I never really went through a poster phase, but I imagine if I did, there'd be... Yeah, I don't even know. I don't know.
Who were you into musically when you were... I had like Nirvana and like I had like Pulp Fiction posters and things
well, mine
like that.
probably wouldn't have been as cool, but if I had one now, I would have those two. Pulp Fiction, you said?
Yeah, I was a huge Pulp Fiction fan.
Sick, yeah, I'm with you. It'd probably be like old film references, and I guess music from the 80s is, music to remember for sure, so I'm glad that that's part of my life, and I guess the Smiths would be on there, Joan Jett, some Blondie.
What's your favorite movie of all time?
Of all time?
Yeah.
Whoa. That's a deep question.
Not best. Favorite.
Okay.
Just your go-to favorite movie.
One of Paper Moon.
Love it. That will be on your wall.
That would be
an awesome
Absolutely.
poster. Now, you have a line where you say music helps you say what you feel. Brilliant line. I think it's such a true thing because you can say so much emotionally through a song. What do you think is the song that speaks to where you are in your life right now?
Wow. That's a great question.
Like a song that just kind of embraces how you're feeling at this moment.
I mean, like 500 came to mind, and at the same time, I'm like, I don't even know that they're. I guess what I will say, I don't know that I have a specific answer, but I'm gonna think about this and tell you. But I think for me, as an actor, I'm able to express myself and where I'm at in my life or experiences that I've had that I may not have talked about or shared with people through a character. And there's this sort of, I guess, safety net there because you don't have to necessarily know that was something I went through personally, but I do feel like with music and as an artist, I'm able to share those experiences as me firsthand, and there's a way, and I've gotten caught up with this in real conversations where I'm like, there is a song that represents this moment that I've written, and I can't really tell you, but there's a way that there's something about music, there's something about how it can help you say what you feel and translate, the emotions that you're feeling that you can't necessarily put into a sentence, weirdly.
So I love the moments in the film where she wakes up in her room and you see all these band posters on her wall and she's wearing the band shirts. If I were to look in your childhood room, what band posters or posters did you have on your wall, even if it wasn't musicians?
Yeah, you wouldn't see a band poster at all. You'd probably see just a bunch of cutouts from Hot Rod magazine's old souped-up cars.
Really?
Yeah.
Anything specific? Were you just a fan of those cars when you were a kid?
Just the really souped-up old American 70s stuff. Nothing like I didn't have the iconic Countach or like the Ferrari 308, like a Magnum PI Ferrari. It was more like the muscle car era stuff, really, really souped up.
As you got older and became more successful, did you ever get to buy a car that was on that wall?
I did.
Which one?
I was grateful enough to be able to experience many of the cars that were on my wall growing up as a kid.
Really?
Yeah, so that's to have that experience, I'm truly grateful for it.
That's pretty cool. Now, one of the things I love about this movie, obviously, is the way this film is made. There's practical effects, there's CGI.
Yep.
I was curious what you experienced with Bumblebee. Like, what was ever there practically for you?
I experienced a chance to use my imagination, and I think that was really, really special. I think we're in a performing business, and everybody's method is different. There is no wrong way of doing it. I like to be imaginative. I seem pretty cut and dry, but I'm pretty whimsical. And to be able to act to something that you don't have to, and I tell this a lot, like we're having a conversation. I say something, you react, that's all I have to go on. That's it. So then that furthers, your reaction furthers mine, which furthers the conversation. But when it's a tennis ball and a stick, yes, you don't get anything, but if you use your imagination, you get everything. And you get everything you want to use. So it encourages you a little bit more to take a little more risks. You can find a different dynamic that maybe you wouldn't find with another conversation with another person. I don't view it as a negative thing. I view it as a positive thing.
If there was to be some hypothetical match, like in wrestling, where you had Optimus Prime versus Megatron, like what would you suggest for a promo if those guys were to do a wrestling promo? Like, I know we're talking about hypothetical.
I absolutely know this.
Yeah.
Come see the 100% unbelievable thing that you don't think you'd ever see in your entire life. Pay for the entire seat, but use only the edge. You'll see a train, or you'll see a plane and a truck collide, and just when you think that's enough, they'll transform into fighting robots and collide some more using weapons and explosions and massive amounts of artificial intelligence. You don't want to miss this. You better be locked up if you miss it.
You just sold me. I am buying a ticket literally as we speak. You know, one of the things that there's a great line in the film that Hailee says, talking about the idea that music can help you say what you feel.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful thing. And I was just curious, like, at this point in your life, as we sit here, is there a song that speaks to how you are feeling at this moment?
Sure is. Louis Armstrong, Wonderful World.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Well, cool.
I love that.
Good score.
And last thing for you, the bullying aspect of her character she's picked on. I was curious, I know you've talked about bullying before,
Sure.
and then we Ferdinand. What was your bullying aspect in school? Were you bullied? Were you picked on?
Well, I think that's life in the past, and we all kind of go through our own arc. If we're going to talk about bullying, I'm going to try to reach as many people who are going through it right now as I possibly can. I'm bullied every day. I came back from China with my hair grown out, and everybody told me how ridiculous I looked. So in talking with young people, especially doing a children's book, I got a chance to meet a lot of young readers. That's a lot of the questions on their mind. How do I handle people picking on me? I think the best way to relate to those folks is say, hey, look at this. I get picked on every single day, just like you. But I know who I am. I'm comfortable being me. It's okay to be different. And just know that those folks are going through some stuff about themselves that they don't yet understand. They can be mean and hurtful, but try not to let it get to you.
So I'm a huge fan of filmmaking. I love the way movies are made. And I was curious, for any of your performance, did you do a facial capture or performance capture, or is it all done through voice work?
All done through voice.
And do you but do you still move on in the booth, kind of get her movements?
Yeah, I can't help it. I can't do all those moves. They, a lot of it had already, been determined.
Yeah.
But I got to see it, and if it was very physical, I would jump up and down and gesticulate. So
is it weird though having your performance come through an animated and a CGI character, in the sense of like so much of acting is your face, your eyes? Is that strange to not have that ability to give us that, and yet we still feel the emotional connection to what you're going through?
It's some kind of freeing. It has its challenges, absolutely, but the fact that you get to do it so quickly, you can just try an array of things, any number of things. So I like that. I like having that opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And then Travis Knight, our director, he was able to lead me and guide me and tell me more and more what he want and shape it and stuff like that. And of course, then he go in the room and he can shape it based on what the other characters are doing or what the moment calls for. So I was really, as much as you think you know what you're doing in the moment, when I got to it and got to see the movie, it was like, ooh,
yeah,
wow,
yeah.
Did I really do all that? Do I do it like that?
No, you're
so
amazing.
It was a big, nice surprise.
As we sit here, you have one of the most incredible years I've ever seen from any actress ever, any actor. You have Mission Impossible, MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe, this film. What's going on? This is amazing.
I don't know, but if not knowing is what's making it happen, then keep me in the dark,
Do you feel like you're I feel like this is like the golden age of your career. This is like incredible.
It is really pretty special.
Do you
really
like?
special.
Are these roles something that you kind of planned on looking into and kind of taking on bigger projects?
No. It's something that I, hope to be a part of these wonderful type of franchise movies and big movies and action and sequence and fantasy and stuff like that. But you didn't know if you have an opportunity, but it was the timing. As I say, timing is everything, and this wonderful confluence happened, and I was here, around, ready.
Just so happy
Yeah.
for you.
Thank you.
And, obviously with the nominations coming out for Golden Globes with Black Panther, it was a huge deal. I was so happy for it when I said it on the air. What was your reaction to that movie getting recognized for the Golden Globes in the Best Picture category, drama, which is amazing?
Oh, so thrilling, so satisfying, and sometimes things are right. Sometimes we get it right, and I thought that it's so deserving, and I want to take it home.
Well, first of all, what I love about you as a filmmaker is obviously with Kubo, and you're directing that, you're dealing with stop motion animation. I believe there's some CG mixed into it as well. Here you have practical effects also mixed in with CG. Can you talk about, as a director, dealing with stop motion versus what you kind of have here? How much of Bumblebee is practical and how much of it is fully CG?
Well, just like with what I've done in stop motion, we try to capture as much stuff as possible in camera as you can.
Yeah.
And it was the same process that we went forward with on Bumblebee. We set the film in the mid '80s, so we wanted to shoot it as if that was all the tools and the technology that we had at our disposal, which meant try to get as much stuff in camera as you can. Now, of course, we avail ourselves of all the greatest modern cutting-edge technology, and we bring that element to the filmmaking process. But as much as possible, it was important for me, for my cinematographer, for the crew, to really try to capture it in camera as we could. And that's the same technique that I've used in stop motion.
Which scene in this movie would be fun to see in stop motion? And what would have been fun to kind of play with?
Oh, I mean, the obvious thing for me is
The transformation?
Well, the transformation, sure, but like the fall of Cybertron, just bringing that world to life practically with these transforming puppets. I mean, that'd be amazing.
How would you stop motion his initial transformation underneath while she's underneath him?
It would have been a nightmare.
I can imagine all those parts that would have had to have been done for that. That would have been insane.
It would be insane, and it was insane to do it in CG as well.
Yeah.
That stuff is really complicated stuff, and there is essentially one expert at ILM who's just kind of this big throbbing brain that figures out how the actual transformation works. And I would talk to those cats about what I was looking for, and they would still blow me away. I couldn't believe what they did.
When you do that shot, though, which is obviously in the trailer, you see her laying on the ground. What does that look like for you on set, in the sense of what do you give her for an eye line? What is she seeing anything pre-vis before you do that moment?
Yeah, so for all the scenes with the robot, I treated essentially the same way I would do an animated movie, which is break down the script, storyboard everything out. We create a little animatic around it, and that way we could show the crew and the actors exactly what was happening with the scene, where the robot was, what he was doing, what he was feeling at any given moment. And then when we shoot it for real, we have that reference. But that specific shot where Bumblebee rises up and transforms around her.
Yeah.
On set, it was pretty boring. It was just a crane and a camera, Hailee lying on the ground with a cardboard bit that we'd move around for a shadow, and then the camera rises up, and that was it.
Wow.
But when you see it on screen with all the animation, I think it's a moment of wonder.
When Hailee actually is physically touching Bumblebee, how are you pulling that off?
It depends. I mean, sometimes it's just like a hunk of plastic or a kind of a foam thing that at least so you can get critical contact on something, so you can get shadows, and her arm can have placement on something. But most of the time, it was just her, acting against thin air. But for things like where she hugs Bumblebee, we had this kind of fiberglass shell that she put her arms around. But then, when you see it on screen, it's this beautiful emotional thing because of the performance she gives, but also the performance that the animators give for Bumblebee.
One of the things I love about, obviously, the Bumblebee character is that idea of him searching through a radio station to find a song or whatever to speak something in response to a dialogue. I was curious, two parts about that. One, can Hailee hear that on set? And two, the person who's is there somebody actually going through a radio dial to get that sound effect of what it would look like to transfer to the vocals like that? That
stuff is all stuff we do in post, like the sound and the combination of audio snippets and the scanning. For the most part, that was not something that Hailee could hear on set.
Oh, wow.
Although there were a handful of instances that where it was actually tied into what they were reacting to. For instance, when she discovers that Bumblebee that's what he's doing. He's trying to learn how to speak through finding songs. we actually had the actual songs all queued up. So when that would come on, Hailee would be able to hear that in the car as we were driving along and filming it. But for the most part, all that stuff happened later. We knew that there was going to be this here, and Hailee would just kind of react to, with the timing, essentially what would it be, but that didn't come in until later in the process.